I've been Leo Shaw's bedmate for 5 years. He always said betas were great, you could screw them all you want and they'd never get pregnant. Too bad I'm knocked up. But Leo already has an Omega partner. My client. He hired me to design their love nest. I tried to make a quiet exit, but he just kept pushing me. When he caught me, I clutched my stomach and cried, "I'm pregnant. My stomach hurts. Please stop." Leo didn't believe me. He just scoffed, "Stop lying. How could a beta get pregnant?" Late at night, a March thunderclap felt like it exploded right next to my ear. I opened my eyes and heard a thunderstorm starting outside. It brought a deep chill with it. I habitually checked my phone. The last message was the goodnight I'd sent to Leo before midnight. He hadn't replied. He was always busy. I was used to it. I stared at the ceiling. It only took a few minutes for my eyes to adjust, for the outline of the ceiling lamp to emerge from the total darkness. Half an hour later, a series of urgent knocks rattled the door. Thump, thump, thump. Felt like each knock was landing on my heart. I counted to 60 before slowly getting out of bed. I went to open the door. Leo stood outside, his eyes dark and heavy. He pushed past me without even taking off his shoes and swaggered inside. He frowned as he asked, "What took you so long?" I quietly closed the door, grabbed his arm, and handed him a clean pair of slippers. "It's raining outside. Change your shoes." "So high maintenance." Leo changed his shoes. I curved my lips into a small smile. "It's late and I was sleeping. You can just let yourself in next time." Leo scoffed. "You don't actually think I'd remember your passcode, do you?" I knew it. Even though I'd told him my passcode at least 10 times, he'd never bothered to remember it. Every time he came, he knocked, no matter the hour. My smile faded. I looked at the face that was so often plastered across movie screens. He was just too handsome. I sighed. "Then you'll just have to wait for me to open the door." Leo didn't look back, heading straight for the bathroom. But his mouth was still as sharp as ever. He snorted. "You make me wait, but there are plenty of others who can't bear to keep me waiting." With that, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. Sounded a lot like the rain outside. A steady patter. I could hear it and I could see it. The door was open. I stood at the bathroom entrance, watching Leo pull off his shirt with one hand, revealing the sharp lines of his body. When he got to his pants, he paused. He tilted his head and gave me a lazy smile. "Want to join?" I smiled and shook my head. He shrugged and continued undressing. Right in front of me, he took a quick rinse. He walked out naked, slung an arm around me, and led me toward the master bedroom. The hand on my shoulder slid lower and lower, until it slipped inside my pajama pants. "You were all ready for me and still made me wait," he said with a smirk. "Who taught you these little tricks? Were you just faking being good all this time?" I lowered my gaze, my voice soft. "You never use any prep. I'm afraid it'll hurt." Leo raised an eyebrow, unconcerned. "If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being a beta. No one else is this much trouble." My heart seized, but the feeling vanished in an instant. Leo pushed me onto the bed, and I was tossed around wildly, brutally all night long. Leo was right. There were a lot of people waiting for him to sleep with them. He was an A-list actor who'd found fame at a young age, and he was also the eldest son of one of New York's most powerful alpha families. Arrogant with a cruel mouth, and a total diva. He'd passed through a field of flowers and touched every single one. No one could control him. After all, even if Leo's career in Hollywood tanked, he could still go home and inherit the family fortune. No one wanted to get on the Shaw family's bad side. Everyone catered to the young master. I was just the most ordinary of Leo's many lovers. A beta. Obedient and quiet. This was my 5th year with him. I didn't want anything from him, except for that little bit of special treatment he gave me. You couldn't call it love, but I thought it had to count as affection. When he was in a bad mood, I was the only one he wanted. He was always in a bad mood, so he was always looking for me. No matter the time, no matter the distance. I fantasized about warming his fickle heart with my own insignificant warmth. I just didn't know how much longer I'd have to wait. The next day was the weekend, and the sky had cleared. For once, Leo was still here. He was lying on his side, propped up on his elbow. His gaze slid from my bruised neck to my face. "There's a wedding reception today," he said casually. "You're coming with me. Time for you to see the world. Honestly, I had no desire to see his world. But he rarely made public appearances with a partner. This was an honor. I couldn't be that clueless. So I nodded obediently. Okay. The one getting married was a friend from Leo's high society circle, Dylan. He was usually a huge player. But this time, he'd gotten an Omega from another prominent family pregnant. It was a shotgun wedding. When Leo and I arrived, the couple came over to greet us. The Omega's name was Julian. His expression was cool as he offered a faint welcome. I knew most of Leo's friends. I'd met Dylan before, but I'd never met Julian. I just nodded and gave them the wedding gift I'd prepared. Dylan was his usual self, a relaxed smile on his face. He clapped Leo on the shoulder, laughing. Buddy, I asked you to be my best man and you refused. Then I asked you to bring a respectable date, and you bring a beta? Are you deliberately trying to mess with me? Leo smiled and took a sip of champagne. He just happened to be the one around. Besides, what's wrong with a beta? A beta can't get pregnant, so he can't force me to marry him. Dylan smacked him on the arm, annoyed. Fuck, you really are here to mess with me. He grinned, making no effort to hide it, just loud enough for Julian and me to hear. So what if he's pregnant? So what if we're married? I'm still gonna play the field. I paused, accepting the glass of red wine Julian handed me. My eyes drifted to a patch of sunflowers in the backyard. I asked him stiffly, what kind of flowers are those? I've never seen them before. Julian blinked, and then a smile bloomed across his face, as radiant as a spring blossom. Really? Then let me show you. They're interesting, aren't they? They love to chase the sun. That's why they're called sunflowers. But it was already awkward enough. Hearing that, a new chill crept up from the bottom of my heart. Little by little, thread by thread, it just kept building. I murmured, why do they have to follow the sun? Julian glanced at me and said softly, it's how they bloom and bear fruit, I guess. It's all for survival. It hit me then, bathed in the spring sunlight. Looking at that patch of sunflowers, I said in a flat voice, but there are sunflowers that don't produce seeds, right? Julian nodded. I suppose so. They get weeded out by nature. I asked him, do you love Dylan? Julian replied, for now. You don't mind him sleeping around? Mindin ain't gonna change anything. Why did you marry him? For survival. I didn't know Julian's whole story, but I knew I shouldn't press any further. So I left him with a simple good luck and stopped taking up his time. I watched him go greet other guests with the same faint, practiced smile for everyone. It started raining again that afternoon when I was driving Leo to the film set. Leo's face darkened, and he said he wasn't going. He hated rainy days. No particular reason. He just found them sticky and heavy, like the people who loved to cling to him. And I wasn't a clinger. I turned the steering wheel, heading toward his place. He clicked his tongue. Are you testing me? Go to your place. I hesitated, trying to change his mind. I have work tomorrow, and my back is still killing me. A smirk played on Leo's lips. His hand reached over and playfully squeezed my waist. Is it your back that hurts? Or somewhere else? Be specific. I pressed my lips together and dodged his hand. Tickled. Everything hurts. Leo pulled his hand back, resting his arm on the open window and propping his head against it. That's your problem. Why couldn't you have been an Omega? Of course, you can always say no. Keep driving me home. The choice is yours. My breath hitched. He wasn't threatening me, but I knew. He was a top-tier alpha with a powerful drive. As a beta, I couldn't usually satisfy him. Once, I couldn't take it anymore and refused him mid-session. His face went cold. Without even pulling out, he called someone else to come over right then and there. In that instant, my heart and my pride shattered on the floor. My back was to him, still on my knees. I scooted backward on my own. The pain was unbearable, but I still managed to say, don't call anyone else. I can take it. It doesn't hurt anymore, Leo. I think a tear or two might have fallen, soaking into the sheets. They vanished in a second. Leo couldn't see my expression, nor was he curious. He just tossed his phone aside. Wouldn't it have been easier to just do this from the start? He said lightly, so dramatic. Then he started again, even more brutally. I never considered what would happen if I kept refusing him. Besides him finding someone else, there was also the question of whether there would still be a place for me in his life. I never dared to find out. Even now, I still don't. So, at the next intersection, I turned the car. The rain was coming down hard, and the wipers swiped back and forth relentlessly. But the streaks of water kept growing. They wouldn't wipe away, just like the dampness in my heart. Afterward, I was lying face down on the bed. My eyelids felt impossibly heavy. Leo got up, found a pack of cigarettes and a Zippo in the nightstand, and sat on the bay window with his legs bent. He watched the moon emerge from behind the dark clouds. After lighting a cigarette, he opened the window all the way. A cold wind rushed in. I burrowed deeper into the blankets. I heard Leo speaking. Seeing Dylan married like this, it's not so bad. Owen, when are you thinking of getting married? I can help you screen potential partners. I could even be your best man. Give you some bragging rights. After all, you've been with me for so long. Even if there's no merit, you've put in the hard work. The wind was cold, but not as cold as Leo's words or his heart. I buried my face in the quilt. That was close. For a second there, I almost forgot my own name. In all my years with him, I'd never once heard him say my name. Not even at the wedding reception today. I don't think I heard anyone else say my name either. I muffled my reply from under the covers. Okay, when I meet the right person, I'll be sure to invite you. Leo didn't say anything, just a non-committal hum. He quietly finished his cigarette and got dressed. The rain stopped. I should go. I didn't respond. I pretended to be asleep. The door opened and closed. I emerged from the blankets, shivering as a gust of night air hit me. The window was still open. I got out of bed and walked over. In the otherwise clean ashtray, there were now 3 cigarette butts. Leo wasn't a heavy smoker. He'd only have one after sex when he was feeling particularly down. To smoke this many today, he must have been really upset. What was bothering him? Even if I asked, he wouldn't tell me. He'd just say, mind your own business. So eventually, I stopped asking. I met Leo back in college. At the time, he was determined to break into the entertainment industry. The Shaw family thought acting was a classless profession, and as the sole heir, Leo had no need to make money by showing his face. But Leo had always been his own person. He was never one to be controlled. So the family cut him off. For a while. A very short while. They froze all his cards and seized all his assets. He was forced to live in the dorms. But it still didn't stop him from entering showbiz and tearing up the scene with that face of his. He was a great actor. He could become whatever character he played. Not like in real life. In real life, he was just one thing, an asshole. As luck would have it, I was his roommate. I was the only one in the dorm room, so he moved in with me. I watched him go from having everything, to having nothing, to shining like a star. It was hard not to fall in love with him. Maybe society generally thinks of alphas as a group that can achieve whatever they set their minds to. But I'd also seen Leo poring over scripts late into the night. He was rude about it, never turning off the light no matter how late it got. But sometimes, his shadow would overlap with mine as I studied. A mirror of my own late-night efforts. Pulling me in, making me fall. But I knew my place. I was just an ordinary beta. Getting into this university had taken half a lifetime of effort. After graduation, I was destined to join the rank and file, to become a stepping stone. To slave away for the alphas who were born with natural talent and leadership. Not to fantasize that I could ever compete with the omegas who were their perfect biological matches, or to pray that an alpha would defy his own nature and fall in love with me. I kept to myself. So much so that my life was a straight line between class, the library, and the dorm. I drew an invisible line between Leo and me, and I never crossed it. But life is full of surprises. One time, between classes and filming, Leo was completely exhausted. He got sick. His fever was dangerously high. As a beta, I didn't understand the risks of secondary genders. I couldn't smell any pheromones. All I knew was that he had a fever, and his face was flushed and hot. I wanted to help him cool down, and I happened to have some fever reducer. So I gave it to him. It didn't work. I soaked a towel in cold water, wrung it out, and placed it on his forehead. I changed it every 10 minutes. That didn't work either. I could see he was getting delirious. I was out of options and about to call 911. Suddenly, he yanked me onto the bed. My pants were gone in a second. I didn't even have time to stop him. A tearing pain started in one spot and spread through my entire body. It hurt so much. Tears of pure physical pain streamed from my eyes, but I couldn't bear to close them. I stared at the bed frame, a twisted smile on my face. Wow, Owen, you lucky bastard. A beta and you just slept with a top-tier alpha. A movie star, no less. This was a total win. Even bleeding was a win. And I kept winning all the way until graduation. We never said we were together. I never brought it up. Leo didn't care. The first few times he went into a rut, he'd ask if I was willing. Later, he stopped asking. I was always willing. After graduation, I got a job and saved up for 2 years to make a down payment on a small apartment of my own. He was the first one there for the housewarming. He wasn't impressed. This place is so small. Wouldn't it be better if I just gave you a bigger one? Instead of you using your pathetic savings to make monthly payments. He walked around, mocking me. Are you determined to suffer for no reason? I just smiled and said nothing. I cooked the Australian lobster and king crab he'd brought and served them to him. I don't like seafood. It gives me a rash. He could never remember that. And I was too embarrassed to remind him. He was just used to my presence. That didn't mean he had to tolerate my little quirks. It was fine, as long as he wasn't married. I wasn't committing any crime, but he asked me when I was getting married. I sat in the spot where Leo had just been sitting for so long. It was cold. The wind had carried his warmth away. I picked up one of the cigarette butts and relit it with the Zippo I'd bought. I took a drag and choked, tears streaming down my face. Tasted awful. I stubbed the cigarette out in the ashtray. A bitter smile. Some things you just can't force yourself to swallow. Like seafood. Like Leo. Like this half-smoked cigarette. I closed the window and crawled back into bed. The warmth here had dissipated too. Took me a long time to get warm again. I glanced at my phone. 3 a.m. I reflexively scrolled to my pinned chat. Still that good night from 2 nights ago. 1 word, 1 period. So simple. I was supposed to be a simple person, too. I'd made things complicated. I paused, then shut off the screen. Whatever. No one needed my good night. I just needed to wish myself a good night. For the next few days, I threw myself into work, consciously avoiding the face that was on every screen and poster around the city. It wasn't as hard to get used to as I thought. It didn't rain for those few days. I got a pot hose for the bay window. I'd spritz it with water whenever I had a free moment. The vines were full of life, spreading out in all directions in just a few days. Growing on sunny days. Growing on cloudy days, too. Watching it, I had an epiphany. I was a pot hose, not a sunflower. I didn't need to follow the sun to grow freely. Julian sent me a message. He'd made a point to get my contact info at his wedding. He said we could be friends. I'd never added any of Leo's friends. But Julian wasn't really part of that circle, so I added him. We didn't usually chat. But today he sent me a video. In it, Leo, Dylan, and a group of guys were playing cards in a private room. Each of them had a beautiful Omega sitting beside them. Leo was smiling. Not a smirk or a scoff. It was a genuine smile that reached his eyes. The curve of his lips, something I'd only ever seen on screen. Julian. He seems to be in good spirits lately. Dylan just asked him out and he came right away. My face was impassive as I numbly typed back a few words. Yeah. Looks like it. Julian. How come you didn't come? Say what you will, you should at least get what you can out of it. I smiled, finding it surprisingly easy to tell someone the secret I had long known but pretended not to. When he's in a good mood, he never looks for me. Besides, I don't need anything. Well, he's screwed then. I didn't know why he'd say something like that. Anyone could be screwed, but not Leo. So I didn't bother replying. I didn't let my mind wander to what Leo was like with an Omega. I'd imagined it 1,000 times. It was probably a feeling I could never give him. Work had been hectic lately. I landed a big interior design project. The client was an Omega, slender and with delicate features. His voice was soft, and he was a talker. He said this apartment was a gift from his boyfriend, who told him to decorate it however he liked. My boyfriend is rich, handsome, and, well, let's just say he has a really high drive. And he's a huge movie star. The client's cheeks flushed, his tone syrupy sweet. I'm telling you, every time he comes to see me, he's so happy. He must really love me. And of course I love him too. He's also really responsible. He never forgets to use protection when we're together, so I don't get pregnant before we're married. Hearing this, I offered a polite smile. I continued measuring the apartment, taking notes. I added, "Congratulations. You're lucky to have found a good man." This Omega was a gentle person. He immediately thanked me. Then he looked troubled. "But I don't know much about design. You must be an expert, right? I want a style that's simple but also really warm." Clients like this could be either very easy to please or very difficult. I hoped he was the former. Halfway through my measurements, his phone buzzed with a message. He glanced at it, and his face broke into a huge smile. He was in a hurry to leave. "Something came up, I have to go. You can just handle things from here." He ran out. Anyone could see he was rushing off to meet someone he loved. I felt a pang of envy. I stood on the balcony, looking down. A luxury car was parked below. My client ran over to it. He opened the passenger side door and got in. Then he leaned over to the driver's seat, probably to kiss his lover. So sweet. I smiled, about to look away. But as the car pulled out, I saw the license plate. My smile froze. My heart sank. There are plenty of luxury cars that look the same, but there aren't two with the same license plate. I turned and looked at the nearly 2,000 square foot apartment and gave a bitter laugh. I originally chose interior design so I could design my own dream house. Then I fell for Leo. My biggest dream became designing a house I loved and having the person I loved most live in it. Thinking about it now, I guess I did achieve my dream. It's just that I wasn't the owner of the house. Speechless, I wiped my face and got back to work. Back at the office, I opened my laptop and started on the blueprints. I poured my heart into it, trying to make it perfect. Before I knew it, almost a month had passed since I'd last seen Leo. As summer began, so did the rainy season. I watched the endless dark clouds outside my window and took a sleeping pill with a glass of warm water. I put in my earplugs and closed my eyes. In the middle of the night, I was still woken by knocking. The apartments in my part of town weren't that expensive, and the soundproofing wasn't that great. I heard a neighbor outside yelling, asking what kind of psycho was banging on doors in the middle of the night. I didn't get up. I certainly didn't open the door. After a minute, it went quiet outside. My phone buzzed. A message from Leo. "You've got some nerve, Owen. Think this will make me remember your passcode? Dream on. Fine, I'm leaving. Don't you regret this?" I wanted to ask him what kind of relationship we had that I would ever regret. I also wondered if I should break up with him, only to realize we were never even together. In the end, I just put my phone down. Whatever. Regret what? I'd been with him for so many years and never regretted it. There was no reason I should start regretting leaving a man who couldn't be faithful. I didn't have time for regrets anyway. Betas are always too busy surviving. After the design was approved, the client asked me to personally oversee the renovation. He said to use only the most expensive materials, that money was no object. He said his boyfriend transferred him a ton of money every time he saw him. I paused, then smiled and said okay. Leo was indeed very generous. He tried to give me money too, but I refused it. He asked me why. I told him I wasn't for sale and I didn't need the money. He laughed. "For a beta, you're even more high-minded than an omega." I guess he preferred people who accepted his money. It had nothing to do with me anymore. I just wanted to see this big project through to the end and earn my commission. So every day, I went to the site with the construction crew, explaining every detail meticulously. When the basic structure took shape, the client was amazed. He praised me, "You really are a top designer in the field. I'm so glad I hired you. No one dislikes a compliment." I smiled. The client went back to his phone, smiling as he texted. I subconsciously glanced at my own phone. 3 in the afternoon. Leo should be busy filming. He'd mentioned last month that he had a new movie that would take 2 months to shoot. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I told the technician installing the ceiling light to be careful. I got lost in my work and lost track of time. At some point, a figure had appeared in the doorway of the new apartment. Leo was tall and long-legged. He stood with his legs crossed, leaning casually against the newly installed doorframe. A half-smile played on his lips as he watched me. "Well, this is interesting." The client, who had been on his phone on the balcony, heard him and turned around. His face lit up. He ran to Leo's side. "Didn't you say you were too lazy to come?" Leo didn't look at him. His eyes were fixed on me. "I saw the photos you sent. The design style is exactly what I like. I came to see which designer understood me so well. My heart skipped a beat. I glanced at the time and sighed. It's quitting time. All right, everyone, you can head home for the day. I packed my briefcase, ready to leave. If Leo really wanted to have a serious relationship with my client, he shouldn't have acted like he knew me. Too bad he was still an asshole. He let the workers leave, but he wouldn't let me go. He stuck out a leg, blocking the doorway. First you won't open the door for me, now you're designing a house for my rival, he sneered. This is a pretty roundabout way to get my attention. The client was stunned. He let go of Leo's hand and asked, bewildered, what rival? I thought I was the only one. Leo frowned, annoyed. When did I ever say you were the only one? The client's eyes instantly reddened. A moment later, he glared at me. Did you seduce him? I must have used up all my size for the year today. I closed my eyes. First of all, I had no idea he was involved with you when I took this job. Second, I currently have no relationship with Leo. And finally, if you, the client, wish to terminate the contract, you may do so at any time. However, since the termination would not be our fault, the deposit is non-refundable. I turned to Leo. I'm off the clock. Excuse me. Leo moved his leg, watching me. Walk away with an amused look. Since when do we have no relationship? I didn't stop or look back. Since you asked me when I wanted to get married. Oh, Leo said. He followed me. So you're throwing a tantrum? He seemed to find this hilarious. And he laughed. If you don't want to get married, just tell me. I'm not going to force you. Why are you being so childish? He asked it so matter-of-factly. For a second, I almost doubted myself. Maybe I really was throwing a tantrum. But I wasn't born a person who throws tantrums. So I looked up at him, confused. I think you're right. I should get married. So from now on, we have no relationship. Leo, your boyfriend is crying. You should go comfort him. Leo frowned. He told you I was his boyfriend? Then he chuckled. You're still jealous, aren't you? Why else would you care about that title? You know what I'm like. I don't have boyfriends. It was impossible to reason with him. I felt a wave of exhaustion. Leo, you really have nothing going for you besides your face, your family, and your acting skills. Leo stroked his chin and leaned in close. You're complimenting me. All right, Owen, you saw for yourself. Omegas get too possessive of alphas that don't belong to them. You suit me so much better. I won't say things that upset you anymore, so don't be mad. Okay? I truly had no idea how to get rid of someone this self-assured. I was worrying about it. When the air seemed to change. Or maybe it hadn't. But Leo's eyes suddenly went vacant. Then, they slowly lost focus, filling with desire. He stared at me for a moment, then turned to look at my client, and walked toward him. Owen, you should head home. I'll come find you another day. I looked over Leo's shoulder and met the client's eyes. His were filled with resentment and bitterness, which finally morphed into triumph. You're just a beta. You can't even smell pheromones. What makes you think you can compete with me? After one look, I turned and pressed the elevator button. There was no need to be so hostile toward me for something I'd never even fought for. I lost the project, and a complaint was filed against me. My boss called me in for a talk, his tone earnest. Owen, it's rare for a beta to have your level of talent. Don't go down the wrong path. I understood immediately that Omega had definitely spread vicious rumors about me. I didn't argue. Suddenly, I was just so tired of dealing with these high and mighty alphas. I was weary of this fast-paced city. My head swam and my vision went black. The next second, I collapsed on the floor without warning. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. My boss was looking at me with a complicated expression. You're really something else. A beta and you're pregnant. No wonder you were trying to seduce the client's boyfriend. You've clearly got what it takes. I was stunned for a long time. My mind was racing. How could a beta like me get pregnant? My boss wouldn't be bored enough to lie to me, would he? If I was really pregnant, what would I do? Get an abortion or have the baby? My final thought was, I really should leave this city. Get far away from Leo. Because now, I had someone new to care about. I abruptly submitted my resignation to my boss. As he was leaving, he shook his head and said, well, with your kind of power, my company isn't good enough for you anyway. Go on, leave. Once you've landed a rich man, who'd want to keep working a dead-end job like this? The doctor said it's not easy for a beta to get pregnant and that I needed to take good care of myself. It was best not to overexert myself. I took it all to heart. Back at home, looking at the pot hose on the windowsill, I let out a genuine smile for the first time in a long while. That night, I had a dream about the baby. In the dream, I was back in my hometown. I saw a green sprout emerge from the field my mother had left me. In an instant, the sprout grew like ivy, covering the barren land in a sea of green. It bloomed and bore fruit. I didn't see the fruit. I was woken up by a pair of cool, large hands, or rather, startled awake. I instinctively swung a fist, connected squarely with the intruder's face. A second later, I recognized who it was. I couldn't smell Leo's pheromones. He didn't wear cologne either. Alphas and omegas had their own natural scents. But I knew his scent, as familiar as my own breath. It was something that had seeped into my very bones without me even realizing it. I turned on the bedside lamp and, in the dim light, watched Leo hiss as he touched his expensive face. "Leo? How did you get in?" Leo glared at me. "My face is insured for a huge amount, Owen. How are you going to pay for this?" I didn't flinch or feel guilty. "You're the one who broke in." Leo pouted, gritting his teeth as he rubbed his cheek. "You told me the passcode, and now you're accusing me of breaking in? You didn't remember it. You didn't want me to remember it?" My head was starting to hurt. I had no energy for this pointless back and forth. It was meaningless. When I wanted him to remember, he didn't. When I didn't need him to remember, he did. What was this? A case of cosmic bad timing? Before I could figure out how to kick him out, Leo smiled. 092109. I suddenly remembered that's the date I first moved into the dorms. Owen, was it love at first sight for you? So, once a person starts to care, their memory sharpens. Leo was no exception. I didn't deny it. There's no need to hide the fact that you've fallen for someone. I thought I'd been obvious. But Leo received so much love that my ordinary affection didn't warrant a second glance. I understood all of it. "So, are you suddenly moved?" Leo leaned in, our noses almost touching. Our breaths mingled, filling the air with a thick intimacy. "So, aren't I here to return your affection?" I didn't commit, just looked down and laughed at myself. For the first time, I made a demand. "Return it, then marry me." Leo froze, pulling back, his brow furrowed instinctively. "That's not necessary. Besides, the Shaw family would never let me marry a beta. And when have you ever listened to your family?" I thought. But there was no point in looking for trouble. Even without that excuse, Leo would have 1,000 others waiting for me. All because I couldn't make his heart skip a beat. And I couldn't make him settle down. "Then give me an apartment, Leo. I was just reported by a client today. I lost my job. I'm not in the mood to do anything with you." For the first time, Leo didn't just follow his impulses. He threw himself onto the bed, lying on his side to face me. Finally willing to take something from me? Was it that omega from yesterday that got to you? If you lost that job, you lost it. You barely made peanuts all year anyway. I'll get you an apartment right away. From now on, I'll take care of you. You should have gotten rid of this place ages ago. The small and far. It's such a waste of time coming here. I played a little trick, letting him think I lost my job because of his lover. But he didn't seem to care, just continued to look down on everything I had, arranging my future in his own way. I didn't refuse, nor did I agree. I just silently closed my eyes. Yes, to escape this city, I had to abandon the small apartment I had chosen myself. As the culprit, Leo owed me a new place. I thought Leo would leave. He never stayed the night. But this time, when I opened my eyes, he was still there. In the past, I would have been secretly thrilled. But now it just felt absurd. I couldn't understand why. Or maybe all men were like this. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. The corner of Leo's eye was bruised and dark. From my punch last night, he hadn't treated it and it bothered me to look at it. I got up, found the first aid kit, and took out some ointment for bruises. I gently applied it for him. I was used to it. Leo always did his own stunts in action movies, refusing to use a double. Bumps and bruises were inevitable. But every time he got a mark on his body, he felt it was no longer perfect. He'd get upset. And when he was upset, he'd come to me. Every time I was the one who applied the ointment. Sometimes, he'd tease me with a smile. You seem to care more about my looks than I do. Of course I did. He was so perfect. A work of art. It was a shame to damage it. I couldn't stand to see something perfect with a flaw. At least not on the surface. As I was dabbing the ointment, Leo's eyes opened. He tilted his head up, and his thin lips brushed against the base of my thumb. He chuckled. Feeling horny? I pulled my hand away, put the ointment back in the first aid kit, and got out of bed to wash my hands. Leo followed me, leaning against the bathroom door with his arms crossed. He was only wearing a pair of boxers, a prominent bulge straining against the fabric. Playing hard to get? I closed my eyes, trying to channel the personality of a gold digger. I looked at Leo. Once the apartment is mine, I'll stop playing. Leo raised an eyebrow, a dark glint in his eyes. I couldn't tell if it was disappointment or something else. He turned and stretched. I thought you were different. Turns out you're just like the rest. He changed his clothes and left, just like that. His pajamas were thrown on the floor, the blankets on the bed a mess. My once tidy room was now less than perfect. Just like him, a person who had suddenly stormed into my life, leaving me in chaos before casually walking away. Thankfully, I had no intention of clinging to this room or to him any longer. People are meant to grow up and move forward. Soon, Leo's agent delivered the deed to me. It was a villa, several thousand square feet, so big that standing inside it I felt tiny. Leo was busy filming, or maybe he just didn't want to see me for a while, which was perfect. It saved me the trouble of having to trick him to get away. The agent looked me up and down for a long time. His eyes were filled with confusion. You've got some skills. The other lovers Leo had me deal with were all omegas. This is the first time I've had to handle a beta. I didn't know what Leo had told his agent to make him misunderstand like this. But it didn't matter. It was close enough. The roles were reversed, but the outcome was the same. As soon as the agent left, I sold the villa for cash. I bought the next available plane ticket and flew back to my city. Peripheral city. Economic development was slower, and the number of people with special secondary genders was few and far between. Most of the people who stayed here were betas and so-called inferior AOs. The world generally believed that people like us had low potential and weren't competitive enough. They didn't have high hopes for us. As a child, I grew up with this prejudice, dreaming of leaving my rural village and flying out of the city that felt like an old man in his twilight years. But I discovered that, in the central city, the prejudice was even worse. Looking back, the city that had raised me wasn't so bad after all. It's just that there was no one waiting for me here. I was the smartest kid in the village, and my parents did everything they could to support me. Later, my father died young from a hereditary disease, and my mother worked herself to the bone until she was bedridden. She held on just long enough to see me get into the best university in New York before she closed her eyes for good. Before she passed, she said, "Seeing you succeed makes me so happy. Mom wants to hurry and tell your dad the good news. Owen, you'll have to walk the rest of the way on your own." "I'm sorry. Mom couldn't leave you anything, and I don't want to be a burden." That was the last time I sobbed my heart out. After that, every year during the long holidays, I would come back to talk to my parents. In front of their simple gravestones, I told them I was doing well in my studies, better than many of the students with secondary genders. I told them my professors praised me. I told them I'd fallen in love with a superior alpha, and that while it was painful, it was also happy. I told them I didn't care if we could be together forever, only that I could taste a little sweetness in the present. This time I only told them, "Dad, Mom, I'm home." I was really home. I stayed in my hometown for 2 months, and my stomach remained flat. Bored out of my mind, I took on a few freelance jobs, designing interiors for people in the city. My most recent project was a villa. The client was tall and handsome, with beautiful light blue eyes. One look and you knew he was an alpha. His name was Evan. He was friendly and we spent a lot of time discussing design details. Halfway through a discussion, he stared at me intently and asked, "You're very talented. Westwood hasn't had anyone like you before." No one dislikes a compliment. I was no exception. I just smiled. "Thank you, but talent is cultivated. Maybe there wasn't anyone before, but there could be many in the future." Evan smiled too. "Want to be friends? I might be able to help with that talent cultivation." I didn't have any friends. In school, I was busy studying. After I started working, I was busy with work. Any leftover time was all spent on Leo. I needed friends, too. And so, I made a friend. While I was designing Evan's villa, Julian contacted me. Bro, where you at? Don't worry. I won't give out your info. I'm skipping town too. And when I thought about it, you're my only real friend, so I was hoping to crash with you. I'm divorced. Got a ton of money. I won't be a freeloader. So I had a friend all along? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I called him directly. Julian, what about your child? He was born premature. I was already 5 months pregnant when we got married. The day I went into early labor, Dylan was in bed with someone else. So I filed for divorce. Julian paused, then scoffed. That bastard had the nerve to tell me not to regret it. Pathetic. I was silent for a few seconds. I meant, what are you going to do about the child? Julian said, I'm not keeping him. I got pregnant for the money, married for the money, and divorced for the money. Besides, he's 1,000 times better off staying with the Dylans than with me. I was speechless for a moment. I'm in Westwood. Come on over, I'll pick you up. Evan drove me to the airport. I had my own car, but Evan said you had to make an impression when picking someone up, and that he'd arranged a welcome dinner for afterward. He had it all planned. I'd never had a client like this, so thoughtful but without crossing any boundaries. Maybe this is what friends were like. When Julian came out of the airport, I spotted him immediately. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He must have just given birth, his wounds not even fully healed, and he was already rushing to leave. I went to help him, but he acted like nothing was wrong, glancing at Evan a couple of times. He whispered in my ear, "Damn, you're good. Another top-tier alpha, and this one smells like gentle bamboo." He paused, then asked, "Did you know Leo's pheromones smell like hard liquor?" I knew. I'd never smelled them, but I'd heard they were intoxicating. Luckily, I wasn't much of a drinker. I felt a bit helpless and explained, "Julian, Evan and I aren't like that. He's my friend and my client." I wasn't whispering. Evan could hear me. He chimed in with a smile at just the right moment. "He's not mistaken. I'm prepared to go from friends to lovers. Of course, I won't pressure you." He had me cornered. I just said it outright. "I'm pregnant. I'm not in the mood to think about these things." Julian's jaw dropped. Holy shit, that bastard Leo is really something else. Evan was taken aback for a moment, then asked, "What about the baby's father?" I told him the truth, he doesn't have a father. "I'll raise him well on my own. I can do it." Evan looked at me with pity. "You don't have to treat me like I'm a monster. Whether we end up as friends or something more, I can be there to help you when you need it. That's all." He was so sincere. I couldn't argue with him. Julian looked back and forth between Evan and me. He gave me a thumbs up. "I think he's a keeper. Oh, and by the way, after you bolted, Leo went crazy. He's on TV every day with this miserable look on his face. See, I told you he'd be screwed. When he's unhappy, he likes to find you. Can't find you, he's unhappy. Unhappy, wants to find you. Can't find you, even more unhappy. Haha, what a vicious cycle, it's hilarious." I really didn't expect this side of Julian. I was at a bit of a loss as to how to respond. Julian came back to the countryside with me and hit it off with the village elders. They were always bringing him old hens to make soup to help him recover. They said he was too skinny. He was nothing like the cold, aloof person from the wedding. I was genuinely impressed. His social skills were amazing. He was a great cook, and the chicken soup he made smelled incredible. He'd drink half and force me to drink the other half. "You're too skinny, too, and you're pregnant. You have to eat." After half a month, I'd gained 10 pounds. But the good times didn't last. Leo and Dylan both found us. When they did, Julian and I were huddled together, studying a bug on a vegetable leaf. "I hear these things are packed with protein," Julian said with great interest. "We haven't sunk to the level of eating bugs for protein yet," I said, exasperated. Then Julian was yanked away by Dylan, and I was grabbed by Leo, slammed against a wall. "Owen, I thought you were an honest person. You dare to lie to me? Fine. If you dare to lie to me, you'll face the consequences. This time, even if you beg, I won't let you go." My pants were on the ground. My legs were forced apart. I was being assaulted. It hurt, a splitting pain. My hands were trembling, not from the pain, but from fear. "Leo, stop. I'm begging you." He didn't listen. attacking me like a raging bull with all his strength and fury. Begged him, telling him the truth. I'm pregnant. The doctor said I can't do anything strenuous. Please let me go. He didn't believe me and became even rougher. Still trying to lie to me? How could a beta possibly get pregnant? If you could get pregnant, you would have had a dozen of my kids in the last 5 years. Blood was running down my legs. He still didn't believe it. Don't worry, it's just a tear. I'll put some medicine on it after I'm done. Do you have any idea what my past 2 weeks have been like? I've been in a terrible mood. Didn't even want to film. This is all your fault. I could feel it. The baby inside me was slipping away. I felt like my soul was leaving my body. No wonder my dream was only of a flower blooming, not of it bearing fruit. No fruit. My chest felt heavy, my throat tight. All the years of pent-up frustration erupted in that moment. Couldn't hold it in. I gasped for breath. I coughed twice hard, and blood came out. Leo finally stopped his assault. Owen? Owen. I couldn't hear him anymore. When I woke up, the baby was gone. Leo stood by my hospital bed, reeking of cigarettes. The corners of his eyes were red. He rubbed his face and mumbled, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. Owen, you can come back with me and we can try again. I love you. I'll be good to you from now on. Please just forgive me this once. Okay? I looked away, not at him, and didn't say a word. Evan and Julian suddenly burst in, with Dylan trailing behind them. Julian asked, Me, Owen, is the baby gone? I was silent for a long time before I managed to quiet. Yeah, the baby didn't want to stay in my belly. Julian lunged at Leo, trying to hit him. Dylan and Evan held him back. Dylan, you can't win a fight against him, honey. Evan, I'll do it. He landed several punches on Leo. Leo didn't fight back. That beautiful, delicate face of his was now a swollen mess. I made a mistake. But who are you? Evan was about to speak, but I cut him off. He's the man I'm going to marry. Leo, is your promise from before still valid? Leo stood frozen, thinking hard for a long time, a look of panic in his eyes. No, it's not. I was out of my mind when I said that. It doesn't count. I was so disappointed. I looked at him, my face blank. You promised you'd be my best man. Are you going back on your word now? Leo's eyes turned red, and he stared straight at me. I said, I love you. I don't want to be your best man. I want to be your groom. But I don't want you. I raised my voice. You think I stayed by your side for years without any complaints? Did you ever once, in all those years, consider my feelings? I was your emotional trash can, your safe harbor when you were upset. So now that I'm gone, you're not used to it? Leo, do I owe you something? To put it bluntly, you've repaid my kindness with cruelty, haven't you? If I had known, I should have never helped you when you had that fever. I truly regret ever loving you. Leo knelt, taking my hand and placing it on his cheek. Owen, hit me, yell at me, do whatever you want. Just not this. I can't take it. I can marry you, I can quit acting. As long as you forgive me, okay? I pulled my hand away, not looking at him. Sorry, I have no interest in hitting or yelling at you. And I have no interest in marrying you. Please leave. The doctor came in, scolding them for disturbing a patient. He kicked them out. Julian and Evan stayed. Julian didn't say anything. He knew what a child meant. Evan said softly, Owen, you'll have a family again. We'll all be here to walk forward with you. Of course I would. This child had given me hope, but had also given me back my freedom. Of course I was sad. But I was also completely free. After this, there was nothing left between me and Leo. Leo stayed in Westwood for a whole year. I ignored him the entire time. Later, he was dragged back by his family for a while. When he reappeared, he was gaunt and hollow-eyed. His suit hung loosely on his frame. He watched as Evan and I exchanged rings and kissed. Unaware, tears streamed down his face. Strange. Before, no matter where he stood, I could always spot him in a crowd. But now, he was gone before I even noticed him. He left a black card with Julian to give to me, and a message wishing me a lifetime of peace and joy. Evan was disgusted. I have money. It's all yours. We don't need his card. I laughed. Then we won't take it. Julian pocketed the card himself. He raised an eyebrow. Fine. You two don't want it, you're too high and mighty. Thanks, my two sugar daddies, for the new black card. Behind him, Dylan's face crumpled. He pulled out a handful of cards. Julian, I have cards too. Look at me. Julian ignored him, smiling as he caught the bouquet I tossed. Epilogue. I was born with everything. My parents were fated mates. But they were only fated mates during their heats and ruts. The rest of the time, they were their own people. They each had their own lovers. So I always thought that I would only marry my fated mate, but it would just be a marriage. Who I slept with and how many was my freedom. I liked sleeping with Owen the best. He was quiet, obedient, and compliant. But he was a beta. He couldn't handle my roughness. There was nothing I could do but find other people to share the burden. But I went to him the most and I spent the most time with him. I thought he would understand. I was destined to never marry him. I also knew he would get married someday. I wanted to find him a man who could accept our kind of relationship, like Dylan and Julian's marriage. So I asked him about it. If I had known that question would make him run away from me, I never would have asked. Never. I would have played dumb to keep him by my side. Or if I had just trusted him. If I hadn't forced him the moment I saw him. If I had let my child grow safely inside him. Would I still have had a chance? But you can't turn back time. Owen is completely done with me. I saw it. He was so happy when he was with that other man. I suddenly remembered, with me, he was always silent. He kept his emotions hidden, never letting me see a hint of his vulnerability. I got used to his quiet obedience, and I got used to ignoring his feelings. And I especially got used to him being there waiting for me whenever I turned around. But he never got used to it. So he left me. He didn't want anything from me. Not my money. Not my expensive gifts. Not me.